This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. A lot of comparisons have been made over the years of Donald Trump, or really any politician, to Adolf Hitler and what took place during World War II. There's a common referred to thing called Godwin's Law that roughly states that the longer that an internet argument goes on, the greater the likelihood of something being compared, someone or something being compared to Hitler. And a lot of times, it is unnecessary. It is a leap in logic, like we're witnessing right now with Marjorie Taylor Greene, comparing mask mandates to the systematic genocide of Jews during World War II at the hands of Adolf Hitler. And a lot of comparisons have been made to Donald Trump, to Adolf Hitler. Some of them spot on, some of them more a loose understanding of what took place in the early 30s could be applied to what's taking place right now in the United States relative to political power, not on the scale of genocide. But the comparison of Donald Trump to Hitler often comes around because of the fact that he admires Hitler so much. He refuses in so many cases, and I'm only going to talk about two here, but he refused to disavow the KKK. He said Nazis were good people. There were good people on both sides, you'll remember. We'll get to those clips. But I want to start reading a little bit from an article before I get to the stuff about him telling John Kelly, that's what this whole thing's about, is he told John Kelly when they took that trip to Europe that Hitler did some good stuff. Trying to talk about the economy in Germany in the 30s, like he knows anything about the history of economics and the different economies worldwide. He's a dunce. He is Dunning-Kruger manifest. But I want to read, we're going to go back to 1990. I'm going to read directly from an article in the September 1990 issue of Vanity Fair, titled After the Gold Rush. And it talks about how Donald Trump's wife, no motivations here because it's 1990, it's not like she's trying to ruin his political career, claimed that Donald Trump used to occasionally read the speeches of Adolf Hitler and had a book called The New Order on his nightstand, reading from the September 1990 issue of Vanity Fair. Donald Trump appears to take aspects of his German background seriously. John Walter works for the Trump Organization, and when he visits Donald Trump in his office, Ivana told a friend, he clicks his heels and says, "Heil Hitler," possibly as a family joke. You know, the real funny Heil Hitler jokes. Last April, perhaps in a surge of Czech nationalism, Ivana Trump told her lawyer, Michael Kennedy, that from time to time her husband reads a book of Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order, which he keeps in a cabinet by his bed. Kennedy now guards a copy of My New Order in a closet at his office as if it were a grenade. Hitler's speeches from his earliest days up through a phony war of 1939 reveal his extraordinary ability as a master propagandist. Quote, "Did your cousin John give you the Hitler speeches?" I asked Trump. Trump hesitated. "Who told you that?" "I don't remember," I said. "Actually," Trump says, "actually it was my friend Marty Davis from Paramount who gave me a copy of Mein Kampf, and he's a Jew." Parenthetically, it says, "I did give him a book about Hitler," Marty Davis said, "but it was My New Order, Hitler's speeches, not Mein Kampf. I thought he would find it interesting. I am his friend, but I'm not Jewish." Later, Trump returned to the subject. "If I had these speeches, and I'm not saying that I do, I would never read them." Is Ivana trying to convince her friends and lawyer that Trump is a crypto-Nazi? Trump is no reader or history buff. Even in 1990, it was known that Donald Trump was not a reader or a history buff. Perhaps his possession of Hitler's speeches merely indicates an interest in Hitler's genius at propaganda. The Fuhrer often described his defeats at Stalingrad and in North Africa as great victories. Trump continues to endow his diminishing world with significance as well. Quote, "There's nobody that has the cash flow that I have," he told the Wall Street Journal long after he knew better. "I want to be the king of cash." Anyway, this just illustrates and indicates Donald Trump's fondness for Nazi bullshit. His fondness for white supremacy. His fondness for white supremacists. Remember the moment in the interview with Jake Tapper when he refused, given occasion after occasion after occasion, opportunity after opportunity, to disavow the Ku Klux Klan and David Duke, the former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, who extended his endorsement of Donald Trump to Donald Trump. Remember, he refused to disavow after giving multiple opportunities. Remember this moment.
You know, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists.
Even if you don't know about their endorsement, there are these groups and individuals endorsing you. Would you just say, unequivocally, you condemn them and you don't want their support?
Certainly, I would disavow if I thought there was something wrong. But you may have groups in there that are totally fine, and it would be very unfair. So give me a list of the groups, and I'll let you know.
Okay. I mean, I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but...
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know David Duke. I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
And of course, there was the moment in the hours after Charlottesville, a moment in history that we should never forget, the moment that Heather Heyer was killed by a racist who now is spending the rest of his life in prison for killing her. And Donald Trump said, those Nazis were good. They were fine people. Both sides. But those Nazis, good to go.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Which brings us to where we are right now today. And this isn't to illuminate this topic more than we've already talked about it. This isn't to see Donald Trump was a Nazi sympathizer. That's not what I'm trying to do here. What I'm doing is we need to recognize where we are in history with the Republican Party and what this party represents. They're not just the party of authoritarianism. They're not just the party of white supremacy. They're the party of dragging our democracy down. It's a race to the bottom with the Republican Party. Systematically trying to suppress the vote among voters of color in this country, specifically black voters. That is what they're doing. They're not just the party of obstruction. They're the party of oppression, of repression. Reading from this Guardian article, they're the ones that broke the story on this. Trump told Chief of Staff Hitler did a lot of good things, book says. On a visit to Europe to mark the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War, Donald Trump insisted to his then Chief of Staff, John Kelly, quote, "Well, Hitler did a lot of good things." The remark from the former U.S. president on the 2018 trip, which reportedly stunned Kelly, a retired U.S. Marine Corps general, is reported in a new book by Michael Bender of the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal, remember, isn't some liberal outlet. The Wall Street Journal is owned by Fox News and is a conservative newspaper. Frankly, we did win this election, that's the title of the book, Frankly, We Did Win This Election, has been widely trailed ahead of publication next week, and The Guardian obtained a copy. Bender reports that Trump made the remark during an impromptu history lesson in which Kelly reminded the president which countries were on which side during the conflict and connected the dots from the First World War to the Second War and all of Hitler's atrocities. In a statement, a Trump spokesperson, Liz Harrington, said, quote, "This is totally false. President Trump never said this. It's made up fake news, probably by a..." Come on, man. "Probably by a general who was incompetent and was fired." They don't name this mystery general. It was this. Nonsense. But Bender says unnamed sources report that Kelly told the president that he was wrong, but Trump was undeterred, emphasizing German economic recovery under Hitler during the 30s. Quote, Kelly pushed back again, Bender writes, and argues that the German people would have been better off poor than subjected to the Nazi genocide. Bender adds that Kelly told Trump that even if his claim about German economy under the Nazis after 1933 were true, you cannot ever say anything supportive of Adolf Hitler. You just can't. And this is coming from someone who has some affinity to white supremacy, John Kelly, who implemented the child separation policy at the border. He signed on to Donald Trump's racist promotion of white supremacists into the policy of the United States, making it canon until we got a new president. Trump ran into considerable trouble on the centennial trip to Europe, even beyond his usual conflicts with other world leaders. A decision to cancel a visit to an American cemetery proved controversial. Trump was later reported to have called U.S. soldiers who died in the war losers and suckers. This is the same trip that took place. Kelly, whose son was killed in Afghanistan in 2010, left the White House in early 2019. He has spoken critically of Trump since reportedly telling friends the president he served was, quote, the most flawed person I have ever met in my life. Bender writes that Kelly did his best to overcome Trump's stunning disregard for history, and we'll finish it here. Senior officials described his understanding of slavery, Jim Crow, or the black experience in general post-Civil War as vague to non-existent, he writes. But Trump's indifference to black history was similar to his disregard for history of any race, religion, or creed. That is where we are. And this has been adopted by the Republican Party. This outlook on world history. Right now, we're seeing a push in several states across the country to whip up legislation very quickly to ensure that any trace of our racist past in this country is not taught in schools to kids. Because the true history of the United States has pockmarks. There are bruises and scars left over the hundreds of years of our history that are dirty and gross. But they don't want that taught. They want unquestioned fealty to the flag. Not a productive understanding of our history that might lead us to better things in the future for people. That's not what they want. They want you to shut up, put your hand on your heart, and recite your dedication, your pledge of allegiance to a piece of cloth. That's what they want. They want a Dunning-Kruger society. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think. The fight continues. This isn't just about pointing out Trump's a bad guy. We all know Trump is a piece of shit. This is about preserving our republic, putting up a fight against the efforts of Republicans all over the country to drag us back in time. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at Dollemore.com. I would appreciate hearing from you. You can connect with me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm all over the place. And I would ask, if you are in a financial position to do so, you can help support my work. You can click the join button, see what's involved to become a channel member here on YouTube. If YouTube's not your thing, I've got Patreon. It's at patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. That's not just for the podcast. That's for the entire media organization. It's small but growing. You can be over there too. It's a lot easier over there because the reward system is a lot more technologically advanced, if you can believe it, over what YouTube offers. So anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.